this week,
Mhm.
several creatives,
Mhm.
Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Julian Binoche, Riz Ahmed, who was in Rogue One, loved
Yep.
him in that. Guillermo del Toro, among additional names to sign open letter condemning industry silence over Gaza.
Mhm.
What is going on? What is this current silence about, and what's going on, Cameron Pasha?
Well, I mean, it's specifically related to the Cannes Film Festival, where the big issue is one of the films. It was a documentary that's there at Cannes, featured the incredible photographic work of a Palestinian woman who was 25 years old in Gaza, who was an incredible photographer who was just capturing people's lives in the middle of this horrible situation, this war and this conflict and in my opinion, a genocide. And she's not able to come to Cannes because the day after it was announced that the film was going to be in the Cannes Film Festival, the Israelis dropped a missile on her house, right, and killed her and her entire family. And that's not an accident. Every time, the same things that happened at the Oscars when the Palestinian, it was Israeli-Palestinian co-production documentary about settlers abusing Palestinians in the West Bank, which I've seen with my own eyes because I've been to the West Bank. I've been there twice, seen it with my own eyes what they do, and so that, and right after the gentleman won the Oscar for that, he goes back and he gets settlers raid his house, and because they're angry that this message is getting out into the mainstream and into the worlds that they thought that they had complete lockdown of, which is Hollywood, and so the fact that a 25-year-old woman was missiled to death the day after it was announced this film was coming out is what I think really hurt people and made them realize how the nature of what this is, what this conflict is, and what the nature of the intentions behind it. So that's why a lot of creatives are coming out finally, because it's crossing so many lines that eventually people are like, you know what? While I for 20 years have cared very much about this story, I've been very aware that my limited open talking about it has made me many very dangerous enemies. Most people don't want to deal with it, but it's reaching a place where even Hollywood people, even traditional Israel supporters, are kind of disgusted by what's happening, and they're really ashamed because their allies are revealing themselves to be completely heartless people. That's my opinion. But I mean, some people are upset by that. But let me just say, look, you notice, if anyone has noticed, I'm wearing something and I'm proud to wear it.
You can't really see unless you can't stand up.
I'll
right
stand
there.
up and you can see it. But this is I wear this every Friday when I go to the mosque. At my mosque here in LA, which is a T-shirt that simply honors the sailors that were killed in the USS Liberty in 1967, which was bombed by
American sailors.
Most Americans don't know this. American sailors were bombed by the Israelis in 1967 during the Six-Day War, and the survivor, over 40 sailors, American sailors, were killed by the Israelis, and the survivors were machine gunned as they tried to get onto lifeboats, and this ship was destroyed. And at the Secretary of Defense said at the time this was an intentional act against the United States because they were hoping, it's something, if any of you know the history of Israel, most people don't, who have a lot of opinion on this topic, they don't know the history at all. There was something called the Lavan Affair, which was a few years earlier, where Israeli operatives in Egypt attempted to kill American citizens. It was an actual operation, Israeli operation. They were going to bomb and kill American non-combatant citizens in Egypt and blame it on Egyptians in order to get Americans to fight Egypt. And they were, guess what? The attack was called up at the last minute. And then a few years ago, all of the people that organized the attack were given essentially the Medal of Honor in Israel by the government, saying thank you for doing this heroic thing, that they were going to kill Americans. So that was what the USS Liberty was about. And those American sailors, many of them still alive, have been trying since 1967 to get America to admit what happened to them, that our ally attacked us, in order to try to get us into the war and make us think the other guy did it. And so I am passionate about this. Not everyone agrees. Not everyone on my Patreon agrees. People have left my Patreon when I've talked about this. But, it's too horrifying for me. And again, you don't have to agree, but it's too horrifying for me to keep my mouth shut anymore. And if that's reaching the stage, I think where Hollywood is at that place as well. And to the point that even friends of mine who are very pro, or at least sympathetic to the Israeli narrative, are kind of embarrassed now. And it's going to get worse and worse because I've been to Israel. Well, I've been there. You haven't seen yet what's coming, because I've seen the people.
So let's wrap this up, because I think that's a great way to place to leave it off, is that Hollywood is now, it's something you can't ignore anymore. And that's why you're seeing these letters. That's why you're seeing more more people signing, more people who have active careers, not people who are like, kind of out of the business and older, I don't know what. Or there's some people that took the hit for their beliefs. And, like Melissa Barrera, some people posted this and they put a picture up of Pedro Pascal. It's like, hey, Disney, why aren't you firing him? And why, you fired Gina Carano for much less? And it's like what a complete horrible comparison.
Certainly, in my opinion.
Because one is that this isn't just him condemning these events, and so many people are dying. They're being killed. Why wouldn't you want the Pedro Pascals, all of them, to get behind this? I mean, God bless Gina. I don't even know why she was even brought up in this person's argument, but
I'll leave.
Is that, you need the Pedros and other actors of the world to bring light to this. That's it. It can't just be one person like Melissa Barrera. What is different now is that it's not just one person; it's several people in Hollywood speaking up. You didn't have this before,
and it's going to get bigger.
Now, as a Chicano, right? The sympathy here is that, listen, someone who comes from that history of being where my history has changed because of an occupying force, so-called conquered, you understand what's going on. You feel for the people of Gaza. Not me myself, Hamas, fucking never.
We're not even talking about it. We're talking about
I'm bringing
millions
it up.
Of people that are.
But I'm bringing it up because people don't know how to differentiate.
Well, they don't want to on purpose. They like to conflate it.
So that's where I'm just like, and I'm like I told you, I've been getting really educated more and more on this as the months and weeks have gone by. I'm like, yeah, this is some horrible shit.
Yeah.
And it's not just this year, the last couple of years, this goes back hundreds of years in our modern era.
Well, it goes back to 40. It's the 40s. I mean, Palestine wasn't at war before the 20th century. It just wasn't.
Right.
Jews lived there peacefully. I mean, it wasn't at war.
Yeah. We can get in the weeds with that, but for the most part, you're right. Is that Jews did live very peacefully in Palestine
for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
they were a small minority, but they were there.
They were a small minority, but they were there. So okay. I think it's a good. Anyways,
we can move on from this, but the reason I think it's important, and I know it's offensive. I can already see people in the chat that don't agree with me. You
don't worry about that.
That's fine, and you can have your opinion, and that's fine.
We love our chat. We love different opinions.
But I'm stating mine without fear because I've reached a stage in life where I'm no longer afraid because I've already been canceled. I've already had that. I've already been canceled multiple times years before this became the normative thing in Hollywood to talk about, because I had the audacity to talk about it, and I've lost jobs because of it. I've made adversaries. One of what I thought was a close friend of mine who's going to hire me for a TV show told me last year he will never work me again because he sees me as a anti-Semite now because I speak out for people of Gaza. He's literally called me that to my face. He said that to my face, and whatever. And so we lost friends over that, lost business over it. And I did that, and losing that since before it was a popular thing to do in Hollywood. So it's important, for letting artists speak. I strongly support Gina Carano. I strongly support Pedro Pascal. I support Pedro Pascal on things I don't agree with. I don't share a lot of his opinions on some of the more progressive social issues about, trans people, being in the other cultural sport teams as women. I mean, I don't necessarily on board with a lot of that. But he has every right to say it. And it is actually important. It is important that we keep having a world where people can say unpopular things, and when people in the fandom say just be an actor, shut up and act, well, you don't say that to Gina. You just want to say that to people whose ideas you don't agree with.
But they're ignorance to begin with. We talked about that. Okay, all right, smartass. Here's a page of script. You're gonna say one line. Hit your mark. Lights, camera, lights. Go. Boo, 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 boo.
And
all right.
As we saw.
But listen, the reason why we're talking about this is that it's now, I feel, a different time in Hollywood. More and more people are speaking out against this atrocities.
It's going to accelerate.
And I hope our leaders, get some shit done.
Well, I will say
there's a lot of information that you're not hearing about.
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll leave it at that. We'll move on. We'll move on to other things, and that's fine.
All right.